All right, it is 2 p.m. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to our April Reliability and Security Oversight Update. My name is Maylee Cook. I'm a Training and Outreach Specialist at WECC, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here today. We have just an announcement real quick for you. We want to remind you of our Reliability in the West discussion series. Our topic for the May 7th session will be the 2025 Summer Outlook, and we will have a broad overview of summer 2025, and panelists will include James Hansen and Vic Howell from WECC, as well as Sunny Westcott, the Chief Meteorologist at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security from CISA. So that will be a great discussion. We hope to see you there, and the link for that is in the chat. Our antitrust policy. All WECC meetings are conducted in accordance with the WECC antitrust policy and the NERC antitrust compliance guidelines. All participants must comply with the policy and guidelines. This meeting is public. Confidential or proprietary information should not be discussed in open session. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted publicly. By participating, you give your consent for your name, voice, image, and likeness to be included in that recording. WECC strives to ensure the information presented today is accurate and reflects the views of WECC. However, all interpretations and positions are subject to change. If you have any questions, please contact WECC's legal counsel. We love to have your participation in these calls. Feel free to send your questions through the chat feature to WECC meetings, or use the raise hand and we will call on you to ask your question aloud. We have an agenda. Here's our agenda for today. We'll start with a standards feedback team and standards update from Donovan Crane, and then move into a cold weather update from Curtis Cruz, and then an inverter-based resource initiative update from Andrew Williamson, followed by a NERC and WECC happenings by Fahad, as well as a self-certifications 2024 update from Jennifer Salisbury. If we can go to our next slide and the next one, let's go ahead and turn the time over to Donovan.
Right, thanks, Maylee. Can you hear me? Perfect. All right, so we have a few pretty quick updates, but some pretty exciting ones that are coming from both WECC and NERC standards. So if we can move to the next slide. So we'll start with WECC standards updates. The first one we have is the WECC 142. The project 142 has the upcoming ballot. Right now, the ballot process for this project has started. It's pretty exciting. It's a pretty cool update that is finally coming to fruition, as this is a project that started back in, I believe, 2020 and has had ups, downs, pauses, and is finally at the stage to get it balloted and in front of NERC and FERC. Just as a quick reminder to this is a project that is to provide rationale and request that BAL 2 WECC 3, the contingency reserve standard that requires the 3 and 3 contingency reserve to be held, is the focus of this project. And so going forward with this one right now, the ballot pool is open to join for current members of the WECC ballot body, and this will be open through the 28th of this month. After that happens, there's going to be a standards briefing call that occurs on the 30th. There will be details that can be found on the WECC calendar for that meeting. This will be a meeting and a call that's not meant to re-adjudicate the standard or to redraft it or ask those kinds of questions or updates, more of if there are final, clarifying questions before the ballot voting begins. That is what the point of the call is. It's not to rehash and relook it and ask for changes. It's more of a clarification call if there are final questions before the ballot. And then that ballot voting will be open from May 1st through the 15th for those that are able to join the ballot pool from the current WECC ballot body that have shown interest. So that's a cool update. That's fun that that's finally coming about, and there's some good traction and movement on that we were able to move with that. The second update from WECC standards is the WECC 156 project. The drafting team is currently meeting on Fridays. The next meeting that they have will be next Friday, 2 to 4 Mountain Daylight Time. And as a reminder, this is the project to look at the language in the WECC variants to the VAR 1 standard that may be unintentionally exclusionary with the new registration criteria for the GOGOPs. It's not to say that there is an issue, but the drafting team is working through what updates should, if any, be made. So they're working on Friday afternoons. They've agreed to that cadence, Friday afternoons from 2 to 4 Mountain Daylight. And again, if you're interested in observing or participating in these meetings, please join. The information will be on the WECC calendar as well on how to join those. So always looking for observers' opinions, SMEs that bring experience that can speak to this. Open comment is solicited throughout the meetings. So if there's an interest to participate or strong feelings or experience you'd like to bring to that, please come to the meetings and participate. The team's working through that. They've met a couple times already, but the work continues. With that, we're going to move on to some NERC projects that are going on. If we can go to, this next slide. So we have the Order 901 project updates. The NERC Standards Committee, they met yesterday and they approved waivers for each of the projects and approved the projects to be posted for comment and ballot. Those announcements, if you're part of that group that receives those announcements, they went out this morning. And just as a clarification for each of those projects, the project 2021-01, they went out, they requested the waivers to reduce balloting and commenting times, the periods for those to meet the regulatory deadline of 901. And the proposed standard changes for that project are out for ballot. For project 2022-02, they also requested shortening the comment and balloting timeframes, as well as getting the approval to send their proposed standard changes out for comment and ballot. And for 2020-06, they requested the waivers for comment and ballot periods to be shortened as well. They got those waivers approved. But what is out for comment and ballot for that project is the definitions, both of model validation and model verification. The updates to the standard right now are not out. That still is being prepared and will go out for comment and ballot a little bit later. But what is out currently for comment and ballot for them is the definitions that they are proposing for that project. So those are some of the 901 project updates that came. There was another approval item that came through yesterday at the NERC SC, and that was to approve the errata changes to several SIP reliability standards. And that was just simply as a quick overview. The term electronic access control or monitoring system was needing to be corrected because they had and or were incorrect. It didn't change the actual definition in NERC glossary of terms, but it's just an errata change to make sure that the correct term was actually spelled out. And so that was another noticeable update for the standards. Other than that, I believe that Fahad will probably have some more happenings that will go along. So I won't steal his thunder on any other happenings at WECC or NERC. But those are what we currently have for the standards updates. And that should be, I don't believe I have any other slides after that. So if there are any other questions, open to that. If not, then I'll pass it to the next.
That is your final slide. I don't have any questions for you at this time. We'll go ahead and move on to Curtis Cruz.
Thank you, Maylee. Thank you, Donovan. It's always fun to watch standards get developed. Well, the first thing, the cold weather standard was sent to FERC on April 10th last week. So EOP 12-3 is in FERC's hands. If it meets the drafting team's expectations, FERC may hopefully approve relatively soon, so it can go into effect October 1st. We'll see what happens with that as that unfolds. Haven't heard a whole lot about it, but if you want to see how big that package was, it's nearly 2,500 pages. And I don't know if that came through as a link, but it was a significant amount of information. And forgive me if you hear background noise. I've got some people working upstairs, pulling out some carpets, so forgive me. But EOP 12-3 also has some PDS, some periodic data submittal information or association with it, the corrective action plan extensions, and the generator cold weather constraints. I can tell you that behind the scenes, the ERO Enterprise has been working on some forms for that and has been working with the aligned team members to get that into testing, get the user stories correct, and get it into the development aspects so we can get that out. If we're projecting October 1st, that's not a long way away. So hopefully we'll get that moving down the path here pretty quick. but a lot of work's going on there. Still near future, small group advisory session for EOP 12-3. I can tell you that we've already started some slides, started some questions. I know I've reached out to the NSI group at WECC. Really appreciate their support, but reached out to them if they have questions. I'll open that up to anybody if they have some questions that need to be asked in that SGAS general session. Please send them to me. More than happy to work through those with the group on the small group advisory, and if it doesn't get captured there, answer them back to you individually as best I can. I know there's a little bit of work going on behind the scenes as well on abeyance and what that means and how to utilize it in the most effective manner and how we are going to manage it on our side. So be looking for that coming out in the near future as well. Some things I know we had Lonnie Ratliff at our workshop talk a little bit about it a couple weeks ago. So I think there's more to come on that. If you might have noticed today, the January 2025 events, there was a report and a performance analysis that came out on it from the earlier this year. Basically, I haven't got to read it completely because it just came out this afternoon. I've been in meetings, but looking at the conclusion, the system worked well, but there's still room for opportunity in the performance aspects of the grid and the electric and gas grid coordination efforts. So we'll be looking at that and seeing if there's anything we can glean from that work that was done. One additional item, if you look at our long-term strategy, we have kind of a scorecard item associated with risk reduction, holistic approaches to risk reduction. To that point, we've put together an assurance program that is focused on extreme weather. We'll be having a website location here relatively soon. I know working with Maylee and Travis to get that up in the near future. So be looking for that. It's going to have a lot of resources associated with extreme weather. So I think it'll be a benefit to you to have kind of like a one-stop shop type aspect to information that may be out there. So looking forward to the future. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And that's really about all I have today, Maylee.
Thank you. We did have a question come in, and this may be one we just need to take back. I'll read it out. It says, abeyance was also in the same filing as streamlining compliance exceptions. Is there an update to share on the CE process? Is WECC already processing PNCs differently? If not, when will those changes occur? Are either you or Donovan part of any projects related to abeyance, or should we take that back to enforcement?
I think that's more directly of an enforcement question. I know I've seen some interesting things coming out of there that may be associated with that, but I can't tell you whether it is or is not. But I do work with the enforcement side of our business as well. So I think they were excited about that filing. So hopefully you'll be excited with the outcome as well.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for that update, Curtis. And we'll go ahead and turn it over to Mark Rogers and then Andrew Williamson.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. I just want to give a quick update from an ERO level on the Inverter-based resource initiative. As everyone might know, and if you don't, I'm about to tell you that next month starts the final year of the project for registering Category 2 IBRs. May 15th, 2025 to May 15th, 2026. And we will start registering. From a NERC level, NERC is currently working on the cores, the ERO portal, so that we'll be able to start entering those sometime in August or September for the entities' registrations. And upcoming information is that NERC is planning on, from the ORCG, we're planning on doing another webinar so to kind of kick off this last year and talk about registration again. So that's kind of a high level update on what's going on from an ERO level, and from a WECC level. I'll let Andrew carry on.
All right, thanks, Mark. As Mark said, we're about to enter the third year of the project, and really that takes us to the next phase where we're moving into the evaluation and registration phase. As a kind of a quick recap, WECC is looking at adding about 13,000 megawatts. And as of this morning, we have 315 potential Category 2 facilities that we're looking to evaluate. Quite a bit to work our way through in the next year, so we're going to be a little busy. But to date, we've sent out 174 of the requests for information to the potential facilities out of those 315. So if you haven't gotten your RFI yet, don't worry, it's coming. We will get to you, but we're working through this in batches, trying to be more efficient. So you don't give us information and it sits for 3 to 4 months while we're evaluating others. We're trying to space out the work a little bit. A comment on the 315, if you remember from the workshop, I believe the number we presented was 323. This total number of candidates kind of is fluctuating as we go through some of the evaluations. An example is, just last week we identified that 3 of the facilities are actually located in Florida, and they should be handled by CERC. So we quite happily transferred that evaluation process over to CERC. Of the ones we've started that we know are definitively in the WECC region, teams have begun our evaluation process. So far, of the 174 RFIs that we've sent out, 44 facilities have returned the initial RFI, and we've started the evaluations. Out of those 44, we've actually completed 8. And so, as you can see, we're getting there. It's kind of exciting to enter that final phase to be completing the evaluations. So the team is picking up speed as we work our way through the process. An interesting point is that of those 8, 1 was actually identified as a Category 1. So while we've completed the evaluation, we'll work with that entity to get them registered as a Category 1. Since I'm talking about registering, the bit of a reminder, the effective date will be May 15th, 2026 for when we register folks. As Mark mentioned, we're collaborating with NERC on getting the required updates made to cores. And once those are all done and tested, we'll be able to start the registration process so we can actually work to get people registered beforehand, but the effective date will be May 15th of 2026. So the effective date of registration and the effective date for some of the compliance obligations will be May 15th. Now, in some cases, I think Curtis was talking a little bit earlier, we were talking about some of the standards and things. The compliance date will be defined by the standard. So if there's an implementation plan for the standard, it'll be at the end of the implementation plan. So it'll be a standard by standard look at when the effective compliance date will begin. So kind of a quick summary, we've got 315 we're currently working. We've completed 8. We've got 174 RFIs sent out. And we're looking at adding, as I said, about 13,000 megawatts. So that's a fairly substantial amount being added to the WECC region. A final note, we're going to begin sending out determination letters. So as we complete an entity's evaluation, we'll send you a note to let you know that we're finished and to confirm that you're a Category 2, or we'd reach out if it turns out to be a Category 1. Or in some cases, you may not need to be registered at all if you don't meet the criteria. Because remember, these are potential candidates. So with that, Ailey, I'm not sure if we've got any questions.
I have one other thing, Andrew, or May, if I could step in.
Yep, go ahead.
Also, starting in May, we will also start our outreach with those entities that we've completed their evaluations. So basically, we will have webinars scheduled every month for the next year. And as we complete the evaluations, We'll invite those entities in, and we would highly encourage you to attend. It's giving an understanding of WECC and NERC and the ERO as a whole. So we look forward to doing that. That's it, Maylee.
Great. We do have a question and a hand raise. So we'll start with the question, and it says, for Mark, has there been any movement on updating CORE's functional mapping module, or is that permanently on hold?
Well, I wouldn't say it's permanently on hold. So we have what's taking place is the CORE's update has been broken up into 2 phases. So we needed to get the first phase of entities being able to enter their information into CORE's and get the registration. Plus, you know, you have to think about this. We're also changing what the out-facing spreadsheet, the registry on NERC.com is going to look like. It's going to have Cat 1, Cat 2. So there's going to be the individual. So that's going to take some time. So the second half of the implementation for updating CORE's will include functional mapping, and it will actually map to the asset level. Hope that helps.
Great, thank you. It looks like our hand has dropped. So Linda, if you still had a question, let us know. We'll be happy to answer that for you. Otherwise, let's go ahead and move on to Fahad.
Thank you, Maylee. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be going over some of the significant NERC and WECC items that has recently been published or occurred. We might not have the relevant SMEs on the call today. Should you have any clarifying questions about the items going to be discussed in this session, but if you do, then you can leave a question in the chat, or you can send an email at oversight@wec.org. First slide. With regard to NERC issued level 2 IBR alert for model quality deficiencies in June 2024, specifically requesting responses from GOs and planners. NERC has posted the aggregated report. There are several key findings in that report that are in line with the previous IBR alert. Based on these findings on IBR performance, a level 3 alert with essential actions has been identified to address the deficiencies. However, at this time, WECC is not aware of the timeline for a level 3 alert. I highly encourage you to review that report to go through some of those key findings. With regard to 2025 Reliability Leadership Summit, the recording and presentation is now available on the NERC website. It's in the RISC committee section. This leadership summit held in February focused on emerging reliability issues and their impact on the operation of the BPS. So quite an interesting thoughts from panels on that presentation. Next slide. The recording and presentation from the March Reliability and Security Workshop are now available on the WECC website. We have gone through the feedback received, which was generally positive. So thank you for providing that to us. We will soon begin planning for the fall workshop, which is geared towards being more technical focused compared to the compliance and programmatic approach we had for the spring workshop. We highly encourage you to submit a response to the survey related to the technical topics that you would like WECC to pursue in the fall workshop. And lastly, British Columbia Align transition. The Align activities are underway for the entities in BC. As of April 1st, 2025, self-reports for new possible violations must be submitted in Align. Existing matters will migrate in the coming months. Also, the presentation and recording for the self-report and mitigation training, which was held earlier this year, sometime in Q1, is now available on the WECC website. So that was a quick snapshot of some of the significant happenings from this month. Really, that's pretty much it from my side.
Thank you, Fahad. Doesn't look like we have any questions for your section at this time, so we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Jennifer Salisbury for, oh, Curtis Cruz, your hand just was raised.
I'm not sure if it's a question or not, but there is an IBR milestone workshop, I think June 3rd through the 5th in Washington. If I missed it, Fahad, I'm sorry. I didn't quite hear that, but go ahead. You were about to say something, Mealy.
I was just say we had not included that because we didn't have a location, but we got that this week. It is going to be in Arlington, Virginia, and the registration information for that will be included in this week's WECC weekly newsletter. So keep an eye on that. We have the information for registering both as a virtual attendee or an in-person attendee and what that means, because some of the breakouts, I don't think any of the breakout sessions are included in that virtual registration. So all the details will be in our newsletter this week. And Donovan, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna put on there that there will be in-person only events that happen when they break out with the drafting team. So
Yeah.
that won't be in any sort of webinar. That'll be an in-person only event.
Yep. We did also get a question that says, regarding a line, we noticed FAC 003-4 mentioned as for PDS submittal, because the current standard is FAC 003-5. Do we have someone who could answer that, or should I refer that on?
I can tell you that the AUG is aware of that, and they've got a plan to update that. I saw the milestones for the adjustments to the line to include that. Kind of goes along that line with that EOP 12-3 PDSs. We've got to get that information in there. There was another one, the PRC2 as well. If you didn't notice that one, I think that one needs updated in the interface. But for sure, the PDSs are for the effective standard, regardless of what that interface says at this point. So just be aware of that. We are aware, but thank you for bringing that up.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for helping answer those questions. We'll go ahead and turn the time over to Jennifer now.
All right, thank you, and happy Friday, everyone. I am excited. Please excuse the mess behind me. I'm having video difficulties and couldn't blur out the mess. I'm doing remodeling, but happy to be speaking with you folks today regarding our annual self-certifications for 2024. You can go ahead to the next slide. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about this slide. WECC on an annual basis, that includes the CME staff, reviews several risk inputs, including, but not limited to, the Western Interconnection Risk Register, the reliability risk priorities, and of course, the old trusty, handy CMEP IP. So that provides us with like kind of a top-down risk approach to identify risks and entities worth pursuing in a way that allows us best to direct our resources where they are most needed. So as a result of this process, the self-certification scopes were mainly driven by the 2024 reliability risk priorities and risk categories identified in the entity's compliance oversight plan. This year's self-certification scopes for the 2024 program year included, for extreme weather, we had BAL2 WECC, EOP 11. The impact of IBRs, we had FAC2, PRC 19, and PRC 24. For planning and coordinating, we had FAC1 and MOD 33. And then we had modeling quality, everybody's favorite, right? MOD 27, and then we kind of mapped that over into SIP, into one of the cybersecurity requirements, SIP2, for identifying those best cyber assets. So we can go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, so WECC will be issuing RFIs to a sample set of registered entities that answered compliant in response to the 2024 annual self-certifications that were issued on February 10th of this year. The RFI questions were specifically developed to gain an understanding, kind of like a very high-level understanding of the internal controls and processes used by your organization to mitigate risks associated with the self-certification scope that your entity received. Next slide. So the sampled entities will be receiving the RFI questions on or before May 1st of this year, and that'll be done through a line. What's really important here is WECC does not expect any supporting documentation to be submitted in response to the RFI. So please please do not submit the RFI responses or any documents to the Secure Evidence Locker. All of those RFI responses should be submitted through a line only. And that kind of ends my update. The next slide, it just kind of concludes everything, and we will open it up for questions.
All right, thank you for that update, Jennifer. We'll give it just a moment to see if there's any questions. Thank you again to all of our presenters today for providing those updates and helping keep us all aware of what's going on. It's not looking like we have any questions, not seeing any raised hands either, so we'll go ahead and go to our next slide. Our next update will be on May 15th at 2 p.m. Mountain, and we would love to see you here, I guess, same time, same place next month. And you can also connect with us on LinkedIn. Our handle is @WECC Reliability. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.